Your husband is cheating on you, you know? I just saw him going into a hotel with a middle-aged woman. What? No way. After a long time without contact, the message from my friend took me by surprise. It's impossible that my husband is cheating. Even when my father needed care, he was the first to suggest moving in together. But my husband was cheating? However, after seeing the photo my friend sent, I was shocked. I'm home. We're back. Traitor. Mom, were you cheating with him? You too, with my mom. What are you thinking? Oh? It's already out? The photo my friend sent showed my husband holding hands with my mother as they entered the hotel. I hoped it was some mistake, but the two readily admitted to their affair. Then leave, now. Of course, I intend to live with him, but I won't give up my husband's inheritance. So I'll leave, but won't divorce. If you can accept that, I'll leave right away. Well, there's no point in us continuing our marriage, so I'll divorce you. Their words almost made me lose my composure in anger, but my wealthy father had a plan. Fine. Just leave this house right now. You're understanding, that helps. Then, the next time we meet will be at that person's funeral. The vile words left behind as they departed. Afterward, I lived alone with my father, but his condition suddenly worsened, and he passed away. During the funeral in my grief, as I said my last goodbyes to my father. Long time no see. It's good that the inheritance is coming sooner than I thought. Yeah. Inheritance? What are you talking about? There's nothing for you two strangers now. My name is Anna, and I am currently a housewife living with my husband. We met through work and fell in love at first sight, and soon began dating. My husband treated me like a princess during our courtship, and it was truly fun. I sincerely believed I could have a happy marriage with this man. I'll make you happy for the rest of your life, so please marry me. Thank you. I look forward to our future together. He proposed, and I happily agreed. Soon after, our wedding plans were finalized, and our married life began. The marriage was going smoothly just as I had imagined, filled with happiness. Of course, it was still the honeymoon phase. But we supported each other and had a healthy relationship. Hey, my dad and mom are suggesting we go out for a meal to celebrate our marriage. Is that okay? Of course. I consider your parents as my own, so I'm happy. He had lost his parents when he was young, and from the time we were dating. He treated my parents like his real parents. My parents liked him as well and treated him like their own son. So, we often did things as a family, and there were no issues of bad relations with parents. Life went on, and one day, a year flew by. Hey, I have something to discuss, is that okay? What is it? It's about my dad. He actually has a disease, and he just went to the hospital for tests. And it turns out it's quite advanced. He will need care soon. I didn't know that. I hadn't told him because I didn't want to worry him, but my father had been sick. He had been going to the hospital for regular checks. And he had been well for several years, so I wasn't too worried. But in the last few months, his condition suddenly worsened. And the diagnosis was that he would become bedridden over time. I don't want to burden you, but my mom has a hernia, so she can't take care of my dad alone. But my parents' house is a 2-hour drive from here. I can't move because of work, so why don't your parents come live with us? I'll look for a property with more rooms. I was truly surprised by my husband's suggestion to live together. Even knowing how well my husband and my parents got along, there was still resistance. Moreover, caring for someone is big. My husband would have to make adjustments. But he proposed it without any hesitation. I was truly glad to have married him. Really, Are you sure? Of course. It wouldn't be right if we were the only ones not involved when your parents are struggling. Plus, your parents are my parents too. I'll do whatever I can to help. Feeling forever indebted to him, I was truly grateful to him and told my parents about this. They were as happy as I was, and 3 months later, we started living together. I was a housewife, so mostly I took care of the caregiving. But my husband made sure not to inconvenience our parents. And we made as many adjustments as possible. I'm home. Welcome back. I thought we'd all eat together today, so I bought some sushi. 6 months into living together, things had settled down, but my husband remained as kind as ever. Even though I was in charge of caregiving, on his days off, he'd just be around the house. Living together meant we couldn't completely separate caregiving from our everyday lives. Yet, my husband never showed any displeasure with our life. However, I began to feel a bit uneasy around this time because my husband and my mother were becoming unusually close. I'm going out for a bit. Okay. But where are you going? I promised your mother I'd take her out to eat and then go shopping. She hasn't been out much recently, and it's also a bit of a time to get refreshed. I was happy that my husband and my mother were getting along, and I had no complaints. But lately, their closeness seemed a bit too much. I didn't think there was anything inappropriate between them, nor did I suspect anything. But they had been going out alone more often. And it had been over a month since my husband and I had gone out just the two of us. Of course, I had caregiving responsibilities, and I didn't have time to go out for fun. But I started to feel a bit uneasy about their relationship. What happened to those two? Did they go out again? Yeah. They seem to be going out to eat and then shopping. I see. Maybe your mother is feeling stressed from this lifestyle. What? After my mother left, I went to my father, who looked serious and confided in me. Generally, I was the one caregiving, and from what I saw up close, the relationship between my mother and father wasn't that bad. But it seems the problem occurred when I had to go to the city hall, and the house was left empty. Actually, even before we started living together. Your mother had been complaining about the caregiving. The last time when Anna wasn't here, I asked her to help me go to the bathroom. And she got angry, saying she wanted a divorce from me. Is that true? Why? I don't understand. Your mother might be tired from caring for me, but that anger, I think it was caused by the stress from before we started living together. So I'm sorry, Anna, but from now on, I can only rely on you. Of course. I intend to take care of you forever, so don't worry. I had never intended to abandon my father. But I was honestly surprised that their relationship had deteriorated to this extent. When I was young, they really were a loving couple. What had happened? My father had started a company when I was young, and I had always watched him. The business was tough at first, but my mother was the one supporting him. Seeing that, I always thought that no matter what, my mother would support my father. But the reality was completely different. While I was thinking this, my husband called. Hello? We are now quite far away from home. And I think we'll miss the last train back, so I'll stay at a hotel. What? Missing the last train. It's only 8 o'clock? I still have plans here, so I can't come home yet. Well, I'm off tomorrow, so it shouldn't be a problem if we don't come home, right? Take care. With that, he hung up. Certainly, there was no problem if my husband and mother didn't come home. I was managing the household and caregiving alone, and there was nothing particularly urgent. But I had just heard about my mother from my father, so I wasn't feeling great either. And thinking about it calmly, it seemed a bit strange for them to go somewhere and stay overnight together. While it's good that they get along, a certain distance is necessary. Am I not considering my father at all? Just because we're family doesn't mean they can be overly familiar. As I thought this, my anger started to rise. But I managed to take a deep breath and control my emotions. Dad, it looks like those two won't be coming home today. They said they're staying over somewhere. Staying over. Is that okay? Even so, I don't care anymore. Let them do what they want. I'm disappointed in Mom too. Since it's just the two of us today, let's order some takeout. All right, okay. As expected, my father was also surprised by my husband and mother, but that's natural. No one could keep a normal face after such an incident. But if I complained and made them suspect the relationship between the two, it wouldn't be a joke. I tried not to care as much as possible. But it seemed they got a taste for it, because the next week they went out again and didn't return until late at night. If this doesn't stop soon, my patience will reach its limit, I thought. But then, less than a month later, a day came. Hello, do you have time now? I do, but why the sudden call? I hate to say this, but your husband is cheating on you. I had not been in contact with this friend for a while, and when she called, it was about my husband's infidelity. She wasn't the type to joke about such matters, as we had been friends since high school. But it's impossible that my husband is cheating. Certainly, I had felt a bit uneasy about him recently, but surely he knows right from wrong. He isn't the type of person who can't distinguish between good and evil. That can't be true. If this is a bad joke, stop it. I thought the same at first. But he was holding hands with a middle-aged woman. I took a photo, so check it out. She said this and sent me a photo of my husband walking into a hotel hand in hand with a woman. I was speechless when I saw the woman's face, because it was undoubtedly my mother. They were walking hand in hand, closely intertwined. I was at a loss for words. Are you kidding me? Were they betraying the family together? What do you think you're doing to me and my father? I was almost overwhelmed with anger. But I thanked my friend for letting me know and went straight to my father's side. Later that evening, I'm home. We're back. Hold on, both of you. This isn't just a I'm home. What is this supposed to mean? At the entrance, I confronted them with the photo of the cheating scene that my friend had sent me. They looked surprised for a moment but soon exchanged glances and resumed their normal expressions. Why aren't they more shocked? They didn't seem flustered at all. What does this mean? So it's out already. That was faster than expected. Well, we were going to tell you eventually, so it's not a problem. Wait, what do you mean by that? What I mean is, I truly love Sandra from the bottom of my heart. Maybe this forbidden love has fueled our passion, but anyway, I'm going to live with Sandra from now on. And why wouldn't I prefer a strong man like him over a decrepit old man who can't protect me? Their attitude was as if what they had done was not wrong at all, which completely infuriated me. Enough with taking people for granted. What you did was destroy a family. How can you stand there with such clear consciences and justify yourselves? An apology should be the first thing. Shouldn't you be groveling so hard your foreheads touch the floor? After all that, not even a single apology? Cheating happens because there's something lacking in the partner being cheated on. Can you stop blaming others? Mom, do you even understand what you're saying? I don't think I said anything wrong. Maybe the reason lies in the kind of woman you were, which led to the cheating, right? It's unbelievable. They really think they've done nothing wrong. There's no point in talking to these people anymore. It's a waste of time and effort. When I discussed their affair with my father, we had already decided on what to do next. It doesn't matter, but both of you need to leave. I have no use for people who cheat. I don't mind leaving, but I won't divorce your father. If you can accept a separation, that's fine with me. What? What nonsense are you talking about? You cheated, so obviously, Dad will divorce you. I don't mind divorcing you, but not your parents. Do you know how much your mother has done for that man? And now, if they divorce, she won't get any inheritance. After all I've done, it's unbelievable. I'll take what's owed to me. Or, if they give me the entire inheritance share, I might just leave the registry now. It's insane. Divorced, but still demanding an inheritance? But these are the people, justifying their affair and acting as if it's normal. They think everything they say is right. And continuing this conversation would only lead to a deadlock. I decided to discuss the situation with my father. I see, then let them leave right away. I have a plan, so it's all right. After that, I heard from my father about the future plans, and I was satisfied. So I told my mother and husband to leave as planned. I did get divorced, but as for my mother and father, things remained the same. Good that you understood. The next time we meet will be at his funeral, so keep up the caregiving until then. After saying this, the two of them left. After another discussion, we decided to move out since the room rented for 4 was too big for just us now. Since then, I haven't had any contact with them and started living with my father. With the source of stress gone, there were certainly feelings of betrayal, disappointment, and anger. But I decided to focus solely on my father from now on. As I was getting used to living just with my father and nearly forgetting about my ex-husband and mother, something happened without warning. My father's condition suddenly worsened. Dad, are you okay? I've called an ambulance, just hang on. My father began to lose consciousness and convulse. Realizing this was no small matter, I immediately called for an ambulance and he was rushed to the hospital. He was taken into emergency surgery and I waited in the hospital corridor, clenching my fists, praying for my father. 2 hours passed. The surgery is over. Did my father make it? I'm sorry, despite our best efforts, there was nothing we could do. At that moment, my world went blank, and I felt all strength leave my body. It couldn't be happening. My father and I had been laughing together just a short while ago. What went wrong? I couldn't accept the reality, but no matter how emotional I got, it wouldn't bring my father back. The grief was overwhelming, and I felt like I was losing my mind. But since I was the only one who could, I managed to keep it together enough to prepare for the funeral. Many people attended the final farewell, and I realized just how much of a respected person my father had been. It's been a while. I'm glad he went to heaven sooner than expected. Glad. Don't joke about this. For us, it means the inheritance is coming, so of course, it's only a benefit. Why should we be scolded? Enough. There are right things to say and wrong things. As they had said, they really did show up at the funeral. I knew it, but hearing such things was more than I could bear. But this was not the outcome my father had hoped for. I desperately told myself this. So, the reason you specifically attended the funeral is for Dad's inheritance? We just came to claim what we're entitled to inherit. Can we get to that quickly? Understood, then you should probably read this first. I can't open the original here, but I've made a copy. Saying this, I handed them a copy of my father's will. They started reading it slowly, reluctantly pulling the copy from the envelope. The initial part expressed gratitude towards me, which made them frown. But as they read the final part, any trace of ease vanished from their faces. Wait a minute, what do you mean by not letting us inherit? That's surely invalid. Such a sneaky move. And even with this will, we can still claim our compulsory portion. So it's not like we get nothing. They completely lost their composure and started to get defensive. But I had anticipated this reaction. My father, who had grown his business significantly, wasn't naive enough to not predict their response. Compulsory portion, you can't claim that when you're no one to the family. Why should we let strangers inherit? We haven't divorced yet, so we're not strangers. Yes, you are strangers. Dad filed the divorce papers, so he's legally unrelated now. Why don't you go check with the office? At my words, they were taken aback and momentarily lost for words. They might have thought it was a shallow plan, assuming I wouldn't act on their demands. There's no way that could be. After such betrayal of family, they thought they could nonchalantly claim the inheritance? Mom, it seems you had once argued with Dad about caregiving and told him you'd divorce him. You even shoved divorce papers at him, didn't you? Huh? No. You mean you used that? It wasn't a fake, it's legally valid. Even without that divorce document, the fact you cheated would have made a divorce possible in court. Which just shows how naive you both are. No way. Does that mean we get nothing from the inheritance? That's what I've been saying. Do you understand your own arguments? Asking for inheritance from someone who has become a stranger after divorce. Do you realize how absurd that is? At this, they started to hyperventilate, unable to accept the reality. They might have planned to live off the over $3 million inheritance. But there's no way such rights exist for those who betrayed their family. So, I'm not intending to let strangers attend the funeral or stay here. Can you leave? Wait a minute, but she took care of that old man before we lived together. She should inherit something to make it worthwhile. Let me say this, Mom has been using Dad's money to live lavishly. You've been taken on trips and bought countless luxury brands. Isn't it absurd to come at us with favors now? But, if there's a but, you might as well consult a lawyer. Though I think they turn you away for lacking common sense. Realizing their position, they looked at each other with faces that tasted the despair of this world. A life manipulated by money is truly miserable. I turned away from the two, saying goodbye to my father for the last time. They soon disappeared, and I haven't heard from them since. But a mutual acquaintance shared an interesting story. They came asking me for money. Were they really that desperate? I guess they knew Dad wouldn't live long, so they squandered what they had. They lacked the foresight, discussing cheating and other things. That makes sense. Well, they got what they deserved. Everyone knows about the cheating, and it seems like people have started cutting ties. Maybe now they'll understand the gravity of their actions. Such thoughtless people, acting without considering the consequences. The repercussions are catching up, and they're suffering. Good riddance. They've reaped what they sowed. Cut off from acquaintances, with no one willing to help, how will they live? They'll realize the extent of their lowliness. I have no intention of forgiving them, nor do I care what becomes of my mother in the future. They've always done as they pleased, so they can keep living that way. Meanwhile, I've started a small business with the money I inherited from Dad, earning enough to live comfortably. I may not become like my father, but I won't waste what he taught me and what he left behind. I'll live my life in a way that won't disappoint him, watching over me from heaven.